Hello there, my name's Jason Boswell from Opentext, and this is a technical awareness webinar of the new update 25.4 of Core Data Discovery and Risk Insights. As you may be aware, I do an update to explain the new features that are in each different version, and we do this pretty much every quarter. And this one's probably a bit of a longer video. There's some quite nice new features in there, which need a little bit of explanation. So I hope you bear with me. Okay, let's get into it. So as always, let's discuss the schedule first. The dates has come out of engineering at the end of December, and just before the Christmas break, it was put onto the demonstration system. Now, there are plans to update on the production system in these next few months, but these are provisional dates, and there is a chance that a couple of these may slip, but these are our provisional dates of when it will be available, and also in terms of the production system updates, which are our SaaS solutions, and when it will be able on the portal for on-premise or self-hosted customers to download from. Okay. So 25.4 highlights. So as always, let's review the new features and the customer enhancement requests. And this release is what we call an LTS release as well. So it tends to be the .4 releases than LTS release, long-term support. So this is the release that is used for our sovereign cloud and our self-hosted customers. But also this is available to our SaaS customers as well. So generally this version is applicable to all our customers. The highlights of this are, first of all, there is a new interface, an aviator that has been added, which is a new dialog that pops up, and this Opentext aviator enables you assist in getting the answers you need without leaving the application. I'll talk about this in a bit more detail. It's quite exciting that we've got a new aviator. We've added user level notifications for various workspace and workbook activities. And these are not just in the UI, but we actually send email notifications as well. I know this is something that customers have been requesting for some time, particularly for those users who don't often spend a huge amount of time in the application. So they know when they've got a task to do. And then there's a group of changes that allow basically it's to enable this more user-centric data management. So introducing more users to enable to see their data and process their data. So there's a number of changes in the workspace. These new inventory pages are part of this, but there's actually some other background stuff which enables this user-centric data management. And this is a theme going forward. You know, the request from organizations is to allow more users to get involved in managing their own data rather than letting some other part of the organization manage the data for them. So in that way, we've got to show them the analysis and show them results of that analysis, and then help them to guide them through the process of taking the appropriate actions, whether to do a data cleanup, data management, or data protection. Okay, so let's dive into all these in a bit more detail. First of all, let's talk about the new aviator. And you can see on the dialog on the right hand side, it's been enabled here. It's all about helping you get the answers you need. So really what we've done here is, there's an aviator icon here, you can see on the right hand side, and when you click that, it enables this, and we're in the admin section here, but the aviator is enabled whichever section of the product you're in. And it will, as you can see, because it knows the section I'm in, and first of all, it says, how can I help you today, and what would you like to know? So this is particularly, and right through you can ask it a question, and it's using basically the information that's a help center and some knowledge information, some knowledge-based information to help you, and you can ask it a question in in a conversational mode. And it will, then you can ask it further questions in a conversational mode about how to do something in the product. This is key as we discussed, as we're introducing more users to the product, more end users into the product, we need to make use of LLM technology to help them find out how to do something. Okay, and initially we will build on this in future to provide power actions. But we're doing this in such a way that we're not sharing any customer data with any external LLM technology. What we're doing is the actual data, the inventory that's used to answer this question is built within inside the core product. We're not using the customer's data to answer those questions. Okay, so it's pretty exciting, and I recommend you have a go at that. Second, workspace notifications. This is something user level notifications. As we introduce more users to the product, they're not going to be logged into CDDRI every day. So when they're assigned a task to review some data before we take an action, we're doing some data cleanup, some data, and they've been asked to review that, and they're a policy reviewer, then we want to give them a notification that they've got a task to do. So this is where this second icon, you see the bell icon here, there, and you can see it up here. And this bell icon you can turn on at any time, and it'll show you what notifications you have. This bell icon, when there's a new one, there's a little red dot comes on the bell icon, so you've got an idea if there's a new notification arrived, as well as the existing ones. And as you can see on the left-hand side, you can also subscribe to get an email notification. So you don't have to be logged in the product. This is something that's come through email. Here you can register in terms of your settings. So on the bell icon, you can go into the settings. And the first thing you need to do, if you want to be notified by email, you turn this on here, and then you send a verification email to verify the email, and then it will send notifications based on these activities, okay, which are all related around workspaces. So when you assign a role on a workspaces, or when you assign a task on a workbook specifically. Okay, so this is enabled on the demonstration system, and it's enabled on the production systems as well, so much like all the features. Okay. Pretty straightforward, and you probably recognize this. It's very similar to other products that have user-based notifications. Okay, so now we're moving into a group of changes which support this user-centric data management. As part of that, we have a new field. It's called the security group field, and this can be populated using plugins, and I'll talk about plugins in a second. So this security group you can use to build the security groups from the access controls of a document, so you can populate them here. So you can see them. Here's an example on the right hand side here. Once you do that, if you have those security groups existing in the administration section, and so here's a group in administration which you can synchronize using the API perhaps to your Active Directory, and you check the box that this is a security group, and then put the people into those security groups, it means that we can then use that to automatically assign based on the access controls about who should be doing policy review of these documents. So this is a field that's on the template for workspace template, and that will automatically assign that this group here, as you can see there, and here, has been automatically assigned the policy review. So we've defined that this group is the owner of the documents based on the access controls. And we're using those access controls to drive the security of our workspaces about who should approve the actions to delete the data, for example. These security groups also provides the ability to, if you're part of those groups, it also gives you access to the documents. So this security group assignment at the workspace level means that the users can view and review the documents in the workspace without having assigned specific data set access permissions. So previously you need to give them access to the data set for them to process documents, but now you don't need to do. It's either you have data set permissions or the security group permissions. Okay, so let's move on from this section here and we'll move on to the next section, and you can see how all these tie together. I mentioned plugins, about how we populate that security group field on the right hand side here. So now there's a new plugin that allows you to manipulate document related fields index. Remember we had external metadata scripts that we could add before, which populated the metadata text. Now these plugins allow you to populate the fields, and it's not just security group fields. You can actually populate other fields. You can see the created by, you can populate it here. Okay, so you can, now these plugins are located in the program data folder, not program file folder, program data folder. This caught me out because initially this folder is hidden in operating systems, in Windows operating systems. So be careful with this. If it's not there, just go and check, make sure you're displaying hidden folders. So look inside that folder and you should see there's a few examples there. To enable one of these, you go into the JSON file. So here's the example here, the JSON file. And basically you can go scroll down, you can see you go down to enable. Initially it'll say false, change that to true, and this will then be enabled on that agent. We recommend that you only set one plugin to be true at one time. And in this release, it's limited to the file system processor. But you can see with this registered with processors that we aim to add some further support going forward. If you look at the right hand side, this is the PS1 file. So you can see this is a script that defines, in the JSON file, it defines which script to run. And this is a PowerShell script. And you can see this is just a screenshot and extract from there, but you can see this sets the field created by, and then this reviews, goes and gets the access controls, and then sets the access control appropriately. So I haven't changed. So this should be, if you install the latest version of the agent as you've upgraded 25.4, you should be able to see those. There's 3 examples in there about how you can use the agents. Interesting enough, you can do compiled versions of these as well as PowerShell scripts. But I think just to get started, the PowerShell is a good way to get started. Okay. Okay, so let's build in on that from now. So now we've got our security access controls and with security groups populated. Now inside manage, you can see we've got an extra icon here, which is the inventory. So previously inside manage, we just displayed a list of workspaces. Now we've got 2 tabs, manage data and my data. Manage data shows you what you've got access to from from the data sets, and you can see all the data sets. You've got file system, all data sets that we understand the structure of. Extended ECM, SharePoint, OneDrive, file system. And it'll display them and also display the structure of them. So you can see, you can drill down through the folders here. And then you can set a specific folder and then say, I want to manage this location. And then when you click on this manage location, you can select a limited number of workspaces that are enabled for the inventory. So you now have to go and edit your workspaces, go into the properties and say, yeah, I want to use that in this particular view here. And then once you've executed them, you can then see in the list, you can see the structure, you can see the types of processes that have been done, and who's the owner of these processes and the state of those processes. So these are all workspaces, but you can see the workspaces that have been executed within inside the structure of the system. So there are some permissions. And these are the properties to make this available in the inventory view in terms of the workspace. So you go into the workspace templates in this section here, and then if I've said that I want to use data cleanup in the inventory view, so I went there and checked that box. And there are also extra permissions that have been added to administration to support the inventory view. So you need to have specific permissions to see that. So they're quite obvious, really, and you can see them in the release notes about what the permissions are. Okay, so we're quite excited about this. There's this new view that allows you to manage that data. Following on from that, we've also added a simplified view of the workspace UI. So this simplified view is enabled through a permission again. It has, so when you can set some of the defaults for the security of that inside the template. And these defaults we talked about, default security I talked about before, about this role. This is how you define what role that's based on the access control groups inside the structure. So when you select a node on the inventory view, it will assign into this policy review all of the, it goes through all the documents and finds the groups that are on those documents, and they will be added to the policy review. Okay. Then you've got the simplified view, and you notice in the simplified view we don't have the overview tab. So basically we're trying to take a lot of the complex analysis away and just present the user with, oh, this is a data I've got to clean up, protect, classify, and all I've got to do is review the data and click on the appropriate action. And to do that, we're trying to default as much as possible in terms of the creation of the, the creation of the workspace is much simpler. It's not quite a complex dialogue for workspace creation. Across the whole product, both in that simplified view inside Manage and the other view, and in Analyze, we also have a view by folder structure. So as you can see, I'm in Analyze here, and that same view that I was showing in the inventory, we can see here as I'm doing. So I can do my searches, find groups of documents, and then flick between the filter view, which is like the old facets, or the structure view. And this is enabled, so then perhaps you might be in a workspace and you've got all your obsolete files. You click on that and this will show you the list of files here, but you can see that how they are split across your directory structures. And then you can flick between them, toggle between them as much as you like. This folder tree view is similar to before, where we understand the structure, we display the structure here. As with any release, we update the grammars. So this is using the latest knowledge discovery grammars, and I'm not going to read these out, but you can see the ones that have been updated for this release. The SharePoint and OneDrive datasets have been enhanced. One customer request is now you can define to create a dataset not just based on the high-level site, but you can now define it based on the document library. the sub-URL must reflect the direct location of the document library. So you can go deeper down the SharePoint structure than just at the site level for your data sets. And also you can notice on the right hand side, you can see here, there's a specific data set for OneDrive. We could do OneDrive before, but it was a little hard to configure. And so now when you select OneDrive, you can just select OneDrive as the option, and then you can specify the names based on the user profile setting. So now you can use the UPN names, the user principal names of each ones to be scanned. You can define in each particular data set, you can define a maximum of 500 OneDrive accounts. So across your organization, you may need to define multiple data sets and then group them by department, location, however you want to define them. Similar to OneDrive, you can also define the mailboxes individually as well. You don't have to now. These do not need to be added to the actual product as users, so they don't have to be in the admin section anymore, which was a limitation for a number of customers. So now all these mailbox accounts can be added to a data set, and basically you just got to copy and paste the mailboxes into this account, into this area here. We've got a similar limitation of 500 mailboxes, like OneDrive, but again, this isn't limited. You can create multiple data sets. You've just got to work out how to split them into logical chunks across your organization. And a very similar thing with Google Drive data sets for user drives. You just got to specify the list of accounts in a similar way. There's a couple of processing agent enhancements. We've improved, given that we've now got individual accounts across the data sets, it's sometimes useful to be able to then view the activity across those multiple accounts. You know, we've got those 500 OneDrives, 500 Exchange accounts. So now you can see the list of data sets is now scrollable across those accounts. And for newly created data sets, you can now scan the data set before the initialization has been complete. And it just schedules the scan to start after the initialization has been completed. And finally, as with any, there's a number of defect fixes, and I recommend you look in the release notes for that. And the release notes are populated in a similar location as we've always done before. And there's a number of API updates that represent the updates to support the different types of changes we've made, particularly on Google Drive datasets. So there's a number of API updates there. Okay, that gets us to the end. I know there's quite a lot of detail in there. If you've got any questions, please get in touch. Other than that, I'll speak to you next time. Bye for now.